What happened to the Lighthouse of Alexandria? One of the major seven wonders of the ancient world was the Lighthouse of Alexandria, commonly referred to as the Pharos of Alexandria. Up until the Eiffel Tower's construction in 1889, it happened to be the tallest building in the world. The Alexandria Lighthouse was built on the island of Pharos outside Alexandria's port, between 300 and 280 BCE, under the reigns of Ptolemy I and II. The lighthouse, which stood more than 100 meters, 330 feet, tall, was so remarkable that it was included on the list of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Although it no longer stands, the structure's lasting legacy after existing for over 1,600 years, is that it gave the Greek name Pharos to the architectural genre of any tower with a light used to assist seamen. The lighthouse was, after the pyramids of Giza, the tallest structure in the world created by human hands, possibly influencing later Arab minaret design, and certainly inspiring a slew of knockoff structures in Mediterranean harbors. The building of the lighthouse, according to historians, was essential since it guaranteed sailors traveling across the Mediterranean Sea a safe return to the Great Harbor. The fact that it was the highest building on Earth meant considerably more to architects. And it was a conundrum that fascinated and intrigued scientists. The fact that it made the list of the seven wonders of the ancient world indicates how remarkable a piece of building it was. The lighthouse was utilized to ensure that sailors could safely traverse the choppy waters, much like the sun during the day and the fire at night. The lighthouse was standing until an enormous earthquake destroyed it in 1323 AD. Following his arrival, Sultan Qaitbay reinforced the area as part of his coastal defenses and erected his fortress there. According to ancient records, the lighthouse was designed by Sostratus of Cnidus. However, he may have only been a financial backer for the project. The structure was built on the very tip of the limestone islet of Pharos, facing the Alexandria harbors. The Great Harbor, as well as the whimsically named Eunostos or Harbor of Fortunate Return, were these two natural harbors. The mainland was connected to the island of Pharos by a 1.2-kilometer causeway known as the Heptastadion. According to a contemporary writer named Posidippos, the lighthouse was built to guide and protect mariners. It was dedicated to two gods, Zeus, Sota, and possibly Proteus, the Greek sea god also called the Old Man of the Sea. Although it was most likely the first massive one, the lighthouse at Alexandria was undoubtedly not the first such aid for ancient mariners. For instance, Thasos, an island in the North Aegean, is believed to have had a tower lighthouse during the Archaic era. Beacons and markers were frequently utilized by cities to aid sailors traveling across the Mediterranean. Although the Pharos served both purposes due to the treacherous waters of Alexandria's harbor. Ancient lighthouses were designed primarily as navigational aids for where a harbor was located rather than as a warning of unsafe shallows or submerged rocks. Unfortunately, ancient texts do not describe the specific architecture of the lighthouse, and descriptions are sometimes unclear, ambiguous, and contradictory. Most sources agree that the tower was white, to make it more apparent, and had 3 stories, the lowest of which was rectangular, the middle octagonal, and the top round. The reported presence of a statue of Zeus, Sota, on the top is also largely agreed upon. Later Arab writers mention a ramp rising around the lower half of the tower and an internal stairway up to the top levels. The tower's height has been disputed by modern historians. Estimations range from 100 to 140 meters, 330 to 460 feet. Which would have made the Pharos the second tallest building in the world after the pyramids at Giza. As part of the Roman Empire, Alexandria flourished, becoming the second most important city in the Roman world and the most significant port in the eastern Mediterranean. Earthquakes, particularly in 796 and 950, with a partial collapse 6 years later, 1303 and 1323, have severely damaged the Alexandria lighthouse over the centuries, yet there are records of repeated repairs and extensions. For example, a domed mosque was erected to the upper half around 1000, and a substantial rebuilding took place during the Fatimids around 1161. Some historians believe the tower influenced Arab minaret architecture. After the 14th century, the lighthouse vanished from history, possibly destroyed by another earthquake in the 1330s. The tower's granite foundations were reused as the 15th century Cape Bay fort. Modern maritime archaeology in the area has unearthed many stone fragments and two monumental figures of Ptolemy I and his queen, Berenice. These may have formerly belonged to the tower and its immediate neighborhood, as the water level has risen since antiquity. Finally, as an interesting side point, while the Lighthouse of Alexandria was a much-copied veritable wonder, it was not always successful in assisting mariners, as marine archaeologists have unearthed over 40 wrecks in the area of Alexandria's old harbor. On the other hand, who knows how many more disasters would have occurred if the huge lighthouse had not guided ships safely into the port.